true that also part of having a dirtier system, your system to become dirty? You were talking about smoking weed in section. Is masturbation another form of dirtying the system?
It's not.
I thought it was.
No, it's not a way of dirtying the system. I don't have any problem with masturbation. The reason why usually in yoga it's recommended to remain celibate, it's not because sex is being condemned, it's not because of any moral reasons. It's just a scientific method. Because if you remain celibate without releasing semen, you'll find that now your mind preserves the sexual energy in such a way that you can channel the same sexual energy into your meditation.
Yeah, I know.
So it's used as a method. First of all, it sharpens your concentration, it sharpens your alertness. And secondly, by preserving the sexual energies, this has an enormous influence on the energies that are flowing through the whole body.
Yeah.
So this is what is in yoga, it's called ojas energy. Ojas means the general vitality of the body. So the vitality of the body, a huge influence is how much, whether you're remaining celibate or not. And it's not necessary to remain celibate. In fact, it can be tremendously dangerous if you're celibate for too long, because your mind may simply become sexually repressed. You know, in the armies, usually they don't let the soldiers have any kind of sexual activity.
They become homosexual.
Because the reason for that is that by preserving the sexual energy, gradually they become more and more angry, more and more violent. They have so much stored up sexual energy that they need some way of expressing it.
Sure they can.
So too much celibacy is one extreme. I've never been celibate completely. And there are branches of yoga called Tantra, where you can actually use sexuality as a way for the expansion of your consciousness. This involves having sex with the woman, and the man and the woman have life energies which are complementary to one another. So if you become involved in the sexual act, but in a conscious way, in a way which is meditative, you can use that to awaken the Kundalini energy. So it's just a different method of awakening the Kundalini energy at the base of the spine. But it has never been done for the sake of just hedonistic pleasure, indulgence of the senses. Those techniques, again, they were always transmitted if the disciples showed that he had a certain level of mastery over his senses. Because otherwise it just becomes a method to nourish your own ego, and it becomes just a method for pleasure seeking. And also, while you're involved in stimulating your senses through sex, unless you can remain totally balanced and centered within yourself, you'll get entangled in the experience and lose all awareness. You'll become lost and intoxicated by those experiences. So if you're capable of experiencing your mind being active, but still being centered within yourself, that's the kind of mastery of the senses that has been emphasized in Tantra. But usually here in the West, if you say Tantra, you think, oh, just sexuality for pleasure. It's not about that. Yes, pleasure is involved, but you're using the energy of your pleasure and you're transforming it. So in Tantra there's a certain saying that the poison that kills becomes the elixir of life when it's used by the wise. All that this is saying is that any tool is just neutral by itself. In certain hands, let's say I give you a pen, you can write with that pen and write inspiring writings, but the same pen in the hands of a murderer becomes a deadly weapon. So any tool by itself is just neutral. It all depends on how you're using it. What's the quality of the mind that's using any technique? So that kind of meditative quality has always been emphasized in most of the spiritual sciences.